definitely a little bit crowded. Let's
what are you looking for when you look for the queen?
Look for the queen.
Besides looking for the queen.
Her abdomen is what, yeah.
A little crown.
and you don't have to find the queen every time you open a hive. If you see fresh eggs, you got a good queen. It's her performance more than her presence that's
really depends if you're splitting a hive, maybe.
Well, yeah, there are times when you want to. Oh, look at this! What a nice now.
Oh, look at the other side.
Okay, when we're talking about brood patterns, that's it right there. That's the bomb. See how nice and full that is? No holes. That tells you that you have good genetics. You have healthy bees. This side, there's, they're a little bit. They got so much pollen coming in. This is a good thing that we're switching it into a larger box here. So, anybody see the queen? It's a sort of a trick. There's a way to squint your eyes. And actually, if you want to be looking for queens, when you're pulling this frame out, the thing to be doing is to look at the next frame. The queen doesn't like to be in the light. She kind of runs away from the light a little bit. So a lot of times, you'll find her on the next frame. And if you have a choice, get it with as much wax as you can. Get it double wax or triple wax. The more wax that you put on here, the better. And if you're putting foundation in your hives and they're not making foundation very well, if you have any extra beeswax, melt it and put it on here, and you'll notice that they call it what bees pull wax. Actually, if you put wax on here, they'll within a day or two, they'll actually turn it into cells. So if you're having trouble drawing foundation, the two things you want is feed, because they need carbohydrates to draw wax. But if you have a lot of wax on here, and this still smells like beeswax if you want to see it. That's good. You want a little bit of smell. Okay, so let's talk about day length. Shane referred to that a little bit. We just passed the summer solstice. The bees know it. I know you're going to have sourwood blooming here, which is going to keep them growing somewhat, but for the most part, the best growth part of the year is over. It's when the days, and these bees evolved in a temperate climate. They're really keyed in. So his discussion of getting ready for winter, the bees are already thinking about that, because now every day the days will get a minute shorter, depending on what your latitude. In Florida, December 21st is the shortest day of the year, and we get pollen flowing in late December. As soon as the plants respond and the animals respond to day length. And the same thing with the summer solstice. So these bees will maintain and they'll grow a little bit, but the bees are already thinking about getting ready for winter.
And I know that if I was just doing this as one colony, I would be expanding up. But because I'm doing this as a honey production colony, I've got one honey super on there. I should have checked that before removing it off, just because I could probably add another honey super on there and be perfectly fine. But I've seen eggs. This colony was weak, this colony was strong. This colony slowly diminished down. She wasn't producing. Her pheromone was getting overridden by the stronger colony, and that colony over here just didn't exist. So the colony wasn't there, the frames were there, they still had honey in there. Took the follower aboard, and I slowly expand out the stronger colony. So if you start off with two separate colonies, you can migrate to something a little bit different if that comes up.
The reason why that 2 minutes is key is that the bees are fanning, they're kind of freaking out, so they're moving that powdered sugar everywhere. So you know how those mites kind of get into all the nooks and crannies. So you can imagine something was like under your armpit and someone sprinkled something on you. That's not going to come out. You need basically the bees to be moving all of those powdered sugar particles all over, and so that helps dislodge it. So give them at least a couple minutes. So the threshold usually for mites, so we like to do the 300 bees, and so the 300 bees is essentially 0.42 cups. So this is a third of a cup. So it's almost half a cup, so it's going to be around there. But really, I mean, when you're collecting live bees, it's not like they stay and like, it's not like flour. So you're going to do things kind of quick, and I haven't done this in a while, so this might be messy today. We'll see. The other thing too, if there's drone brood, then we can go ahead and look at the developing drones to see whether or not there are mites on them. So I don't think, did we mention it today that mites prefer drone brood, and part of that is because those that go to drone brood and are attracted to it have more offspring. Because how long is a worker developmental period?
21 days.
Okay, how long is a worker? I mean a drone. 24. And so there's a 3-day difference, but about 2 days of that is the cap period. So that 2 days allows more of those daughters to mature and develop. So you get more mature mites that come out of it to sell. So those that go to drone brood tend to be more successful reproductively. So if you have drone brood, that's why we like to go after them, to look at them, but also as that IPM method that Shane mentioned too. So we showed the green thing. And those levels kind of change in terms of where the researchers say, oh, this is the threshold where you need to be treating. So they get more and more conservative. They never get better. It's never like, oh, now you can have 10 mites. No, it's now down to like 1 mite per 100 bees, which is like, ooh, that's pretty easy to match. So just kind of keep it in mind. But like as mentioned before by either Shane or Dave, make sure that you are keeping records of like the growth of the population. That's kind of the key thing. If they're keeping it at a low level and they were maintaining it at a low level, that's pretty good. And maybe that's a trait that you want to think about for if you're selecting for queens or that kind of thing. Okay. For beginners, like one thing I like to do is when you have your inner cover full of bees like to move up and they like to move to the right. But since they like to move up, I usually just prop this up to the entrance, so then if anything they're going to walk in and up. There'll be less to deal with later. Alright, so where do we start? Beginners? Yes, we go outside in, right? Some people are like, well, if we're looking for the queen, I just start right in the middle because that's where she's going to be. And like, that's exactly what